All right. Hey, what's up? I don't know how this is going to go exactly, but we're going to give it a shot. So basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be mixing a video. I'm not going to really be doing a tutorial necessarily. I'm going to be using some tools that probably aren't available for everyone, just because there's some software that I personally own that I use when I mix stuff. But I figured I might as well, while I'm stuck at home, record kind of my process for going through mixing a video, doing some post-production audio. So this video is actually a little worship goofy kind of thing we're doing, and the film team already edited it, and basically what they do is they send me a file called an AAF, and so I load that file into Studio One, and then what that looks like is all of their audio edits and stuff show up in Studio One. And so I have our different microphones up here. So we have mic 1, mic 2, mic 3, and then we have a stereo room mic that we had set up when we recorded this video. And then we have some music down here and what looks like some sound effects in the middle. And so all of their edits and timing, sorry for the dogs, I think the mailman just came. All of our edits and their edits and timing show up in this AAF file, but it gives me access to mix all of this stuff and make any further edits if I need to. They also usually send me since they're done editing, they'll usually send me a finished copy of the video. And in Studio One Professional, you can actually load this video up into a little video player. So I'm going to do that. Now when I play this, it's going to be really, really quiet because none of the audio is normalized yet. And so it's gained pretty low, but you can kind of get an idea here of what's going on. Ooh, my camera's covering this up. I'll get rid of that. So now you guys should be able to see this video down here in the corner. And so it's just a goofy little video with Marcellus and Christy and Weston. And so we're going to go through and mix this. So some of the first things we're going to do is these stereo tracks are currently a left and right stereo track. We want to group those. So what I can do is I can select both of these, hit Shift F. Oh, by the way, over here when I do stuff, it'll show up. If I hit, Command S to save, this will show up. So if you're curious any keystrokes I'm using, I'm on a Mac, but you can see what I'm typing in. So basically I made these into a folder, and so both of these clips are now in a folder. I'm going to name that music, and then I'm also going to go right here and add a bus channel. What this is going to do is it's going to take everything that's in this folder and assign it to a bus. So when I pull up my mixer here, you'll see that I have this music folder with my get this guy out of the way, with my two music tracks. But now this is actually a bus, and so I can hit solo, and I can turn this music up, or I could turn this music down, however I want. A few things I'm going to do as well is I'm going to get rid of automation. So right now there's this AAF file that they sent me has automation, so they have like panning and volume, and so they really don't have any volume rides, but I guess they do have a little bit of a bump there. I guess the music gets a little louder, and then they have a fade out at the end. But we're going to do all that ourselves. So there is oh dang it, what is it? There's a way to do this, and I completely forgot. There's a way to clear automation. Remove track automation. So what is that? Option Shift R? Alt Shift R? That was not it. That's it. It's Control Shift R. I don't know my little symbols. Okay, so that's going to get rid of all the automation that I don't want. So if I go to, see, there's no panning anymore. There was a panning automation, and now there's not. By the way, in Studio One, if you click A on the keyboard, it'll toggle between automation and non-automation. And so when you're there, you can select. Right now, the only automation we have on this music track is volume. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pan this guy all the way to the left. It already is, and this one to the right. And so now we listen to our music. Adjust our music. It's just a stereo track, essentially. I'm going to do the exact same process for, all right, I think we just got rid of our automation again on this. We did, cool. So I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm just going to be grouping these into a stereo track. So panned left and right. These are, the reason I'm panning it left and right is this is a stereo track. So this side should be panned left and this side should be panned right. So I can just do that. Then I can make it into a folder. I'm going to call it sound effects. Make it a bus. And then I'm going to color these two. I'm going to make this like yellow. Music can be blue. That's good. Whatever. And then right here we have our room mics. Do the same thing. I'm actually going to go ahead and remove automation on all of these. So I'm going to select everything and then do Control-Shift-R, remove automation. So now we just have our left and right. This is our room mics. Make a folder, room. And then I'm going to add a bus channel. I'm going to make this that color, sure. And then these are all just vocal mics. I want these to be panned center. And I'm just gonna color them that way. We'll go ahead and label these. Cool. So now I have everything labeled. I have everything set up. The next thing to do is when we play this, we'll notice it's pretty quiet. Everything's really, really quiet. Oh, I have everything muted. Now the music's not quiet, but everything else is insanely quiet. If we look at our waveforms, you see these are really, really low. I can raise the waveforms and you start to see it, but when I have the waveform turned to normal, you see these music waveforms are nice and big, but everything else is really small. So what we can do is I'm going to select all my mics. So the audio for all the clips for all these mics, and I'm going to hit Option in. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to normalize the clip. So that's going to gain it up to where its loudest point is at 0 dB, so just not clipping. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them down all about 6 dB or so. And so you'll see if I undo, you'll see this is where the waveforms are at. And if I go forward, they're a lot louder. That's just going to give us a lot more room to work with. But we don't want it to be so loud that we run into clipping issues. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to group these 3 vocal mics into a folder as well. I'm just going to call this dialogue. I'm going to make a bus. And so I'm going to group these all together because we're going to do some stuff here in a bit with that bus. But for now, we should be good. And since this is all going to be just panned center, we can make this bus down here in the mixer panel. I'm going to make that mono. So I have a stereo bus for our room mics. We can listen to that for a second. I'll go to where people are laughing. So if you hear, you can actually hear that there's a left and a right signal. There's some stuff happening on the left that's not happening on the right and vice versa. With our music, it's the same way. There's some stuff panned left and right. If I make this mono, it won't sound near as good. When I pan it out to when I make this a stereo bus, you get that left and right, it sounds better. So this needs to be stereo, this needs to be stereo, room needs to be stereo, but dialogue is going to be mono. There's no reason for that to be stereo. So some of the first things we're going to do is just start with each of these mics. So I'm going to go to mic 1. I think this is Weston.
No, keep going, keep going. Keep
Yeah, it's Weston.
No, keep going, keep going. Keep going.
Cool. This is Mars.
Start this again. So this is how the game works. I'm going to read lyrics from the prompt.
Yep. And then this should be Christy.
That is the first line.
Like, who's saying that, though? Like, God or?
No, that's us.
Yep. Christy. Okay, cool. So one thing I'm going to go ahead and do is on this dialogue bus, I'm going to put an insert. This is where I can put a plugin. And if I was only using Studio One plugins, I could just use this limiter. But I'm going to use something that I have called an L1, which is a Waves plugin, but it's a limiter. And I'm going to set our output ceiling at -1. So we're a little bit below clipping, so we're never going to hit clipping. And what I can do, what this is going to do is it's going to limit everything going through this dialogue bus to make sure it never gets too loud. And what's cool about this plugin is as I bring this threshold down, it'll start going ahead and gaining up in the opposite direction. So
Edit that one. I'm sorry.
It'll get a lot louder. But you'll start to see it
Here's the next song.
a lot. So I don't want to go that low.
Compares to this love burning in my heart.
Then I'm going to go down to like -6. And so this is actually going to gain it up about 6 dB. And we'll put auto release on.
I'm trying to think if I know it. Like,
and I'm just going to do that. So like if everyone all of a sudden, as I'm like working on these mics, if everyone starts laughing really loud, it's not going to clip in this bus. So let's start with Weston. So if I go just to Weston's mic, what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is just put a EQ.
No, keep going, keep going.
because especially with them being this close to the mics, I want to have a low pass. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and use the EQ built into Studio One. And I'm just going to put a low pass here, or a high pass / low cut. And I'm going to start about 160 or so. Really, I just don't want any like that stuff to happen, or if they bump the table or anything. So we're just going to start with that.
Let's do it.
Then right after that, I'm going to use a compressor. And I'm going to use a different compressor. This is another Waves plugin.
It's a love song.
And so we still have some of the same controls we normally have on a compressor. I'm going to start with something like 3 to 1. And I'm going to start bringing this threshold down. And I'm going to find somewhere where he talks a good bit. Probably somewhere quieter too.
That's got to be a love song. I feel like I've recognized.
Or not super loud. And then we'll go somewhere where he talks loud.
I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool.
Okay, and we can loop this section.
I feel like that's like too.
This is really
obviously a
quiet,
love
obviously.
song.
So what we want to do is we want to start gaining this up.
I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like that's like too obviously a love song.
Okay, where does he get really loud?
Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
All right, so we'll go there.
Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice. Read
We're gonna loop this section.
it in
Go
like
back
a
to our
really like
compressor.
dramatic, deep voice. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
Oh, this is
Read
odd.
it.
I'm not sure why this isn't working. I'm gonna switch plugins. There's a possibility something with me recording is gonna mess some things up. I'm just gonna use the standard compressor and see what happens.
Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
Oh, I know something that's weird. I should definitely have this on a different. Ignore what I'm doing right now. It doesn't matter. This is probably why it felt really quiet to me.
Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
Sorry if I've been kind of blowing your ears up. My mix on my headphones was really quiet just now because I had something on the wrong setting. So sorry if that was loud for you guys. This should be better. So what I have right now is just a compressor here. I'm actually going to pull up a preset while I'm at it. Just going to pull up this speech preset. And I don't want it to be that high of a ratio. I want the ratio to be like, I'm a big fan of 4 to 1. We'll just go 4 to 1.
Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
I don't want this attack to be that
Read it in like
fast.
a really like dramatic, deep voice. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
I want to get some more gain compensation. So
Read it
basically
in
what's
like a
happening
really
here
like dramatic, deep voice.
is you'll see it's compressing
Read it-
whenever he's loud.
Read it in like a really like
But
dramatic.
ideally when I jump into a softer section where he's talking,
Baby, don't hurt me.
it's not compressing that much. So we might actually go down a little bit more and get a little bit more consistent compression, gain it up a touch more. And so if we're looking at his output here,
Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice. Read it in like a
pretty
really
good.
like dramatic, deep voice.
and another thing we're going to do as I'm mixing this on my stereo bus, I'm going to put an insert here called Level Meter. And this is a built-in Studio One plugin. I'm going to go to this R128 and go to LUFS. This is going to kind of give me an idea of where we're at in terms of loudness for our video. So our target is usually about -18 LUFS on this. Oh my gosh, what does it stand for? Integrated. So this is going to be like the average of the entire project. So this metering isn't accurate because it's not scanning the entire project, the entire video. But we do have this short term and this momentary that we can see, and we kind of want those to hover around that -18 mark. It's usually where we target our videos. So
Read it in like a really like dramatic.
okay,
deep
so I'm actually
voice.
pretty hot right now. So
Read
this
it-
is why
Read it in like a really like dramatic.
I do
deep
this.
Voice.
So I'm going to gain this
Read
down a
it-
little bit
Read it in like a really.
because we're
like,
also going to have
dramatic,
music
deep
and stuff
voice.
going on as well.
Read it in like a really like
So
dramatic.
we're going to start with that. We'll just do 9. I don't like these decimal numbers. 996, 9. And we'll roll with that. That's pretty good. I'm happy with it. Now what we can do is we can copy these kind of this bass to everyone. I'm gonna listen to all the dialogue mics really quick.
Read it in like a really like dramatic.
Get rid of the
voice.
loop.
Okay,
That sultry voice.
let's go ahead and.
So that's
say
already
right
way
words.
better.
Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away.
Wait, I feel like
To your call.
love song.
You
See with Mars getting
Okay.
louder here.
So it is Rich Mullins, Sometimes by Step.
We suck.
We're gonna get rid of the video. I have a good idea what the context is, so
3 out of 9 or something. Yeah.
I want to make sure this stays
Come on,
up.
man, that's deep.
Yeah.
I'll make this smaller.
See how many.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really need the
Okay.
meters.
You went all the way back to Rich
I
Mullins?
know.
Of all the people, you
So
could've
we're
got
in a
more
pretty
than
decent
Scrub.
range. We'll worry more
Well,
about
no, that makes
loudness
sense.
when we get there.
So next one. Oh, why am I showing you the? Sorry. Winter is
Okay.
past.
We're gonna start hitting the EQ a little bit more on these guys. So I'm gonna go to Mars here at the beginning where he's talking quite a bit. We'll start with him. I just want his mic.
It was a good start. Okay. Okay. So this is how the game works. I'm gonna read lyrics from the prompt, and they have to guess if it is a worship song or a love song. So it was a good start. Okay. Okay. So this is how the game works. I'm gonna read lyrics from the prompt, and they have to guess if it is a worship song or a love song. So y'all ready? Let's do it. Okay, here's the first song. Take
Okay. Not a whole lot of EQ stuff, honestly. This is all pretty good. I might give a little bit more top end on everyone's
Well,
mic
it's a good
since we're
start.
using these SM58s.
Okay. So this is how the game works.
These
I'm gonna
SM58s
read
aren't
lyrics
super
from the
bright.
prompt, and they have to guess if it
And
is
so I might get a little bit
worship
more top
song
in
or
here.
a love song. So y'all ready? Let's do it. Okay, here's the first song.
Not that. Oh, gross.
Take my hand, take my whole life too.
So this is kind of what I'm
That's a good
adding here.
start. Okay. Okay. So this is how the game works. I'm going to read lyrics from the prompt, and they have to guess if it is a worship song or a love song. So y'all ready? Let's
Just
do
kind
it.
of brightening
Okay,
it up
here's
a
the
little
first song.
bit. Don't want to do too
Take
much.
my hand, take my whole life too.
He's moving the mic
What's a
around,
good
which makes it
start?
a little trickier.
Okay. Okay. So this is how the game works. I'm going to read lyrics. So y'all ready? Let's do it. Okay, here's the first song. Take my hand, take my whole life too.
I don't like that's a little kind of muddy, boxy kind of sounding. I'll get rid of that.
Yes, Elvis Presley.
Elvis.
Tell me all your secrets. Tell me everything. So y'all ready? Let's do it. Okay, here's the first song. Take my hand, take my whole life too.
That's a love song.
Yeah, it's a love song.
Take my hand, take my whole life too.
Yes, Elvis Presley.
Let's go.
Okay, cool. We're making some progress here. There's not a whole lot I really have to do with this. It sounds pretty good. I don't want to over process things. So we'll move on to Christy. Kind of see where we're at EQ
I mean,
wise.
I think it's a love song, but the way you're acting, I think it's a worship song.
It is a. I'm bad at hints.
I mean, I think it's a love song, but the way you're acting, I think it's a worship song.
It is a worship song.
Who wrote that?
Heartbeat Mosaic.
Okay. Okay.
That came off worse.
Tell me all your secrets. Wait, tell me how.
It's the first line.
a little
Like,
boxy.
who's saying that though? Like God or?
No, that's us asking them to tell us.
Okay. He's down for it. Okay.
With her voice, I don't need to add too much top in, but I might add just a touch, just for some clarity and
Here's the next song.
brighten things up a bit. And then Weston's mic. Let's find a spot where
Yeah.
he's talking a good bit.
I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like that's got to be worship.
All right, we'll go back to this spot
I
again.
feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like that's got to be worship. I think. I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like
Okay.
I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's
Yeah.
trying to fool us. I feel
I
like
hope that's a love song.
I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's
Yeah.
trying to fool us. I feel like
I hope that's a love song.
I feel like that's like read it read it in like a really like dramatic deep voice.
Some night. Okay, let's
That sultry voice.
let's go ahead. And,
Love song.
you sharing? Okay. So it is Rich Mullins, Sometimes by Step.
We suck.
What are we at?
3 out of
30%?
9 or something. Yeah, 3 out
No,
of 8.
these are hard.
3 out of
Rich
8.
Mullen, man, that's deep.
Yeah, man. See him.
So Marcellus is moving on and off the mic a bit, I feel like. So basically I'm just going to lower his ratio and compress more. So bring the threshold down lower so it's compressing more often. It's just not compressing as much. And so hopefully that'll kind of help smooth some things out. Because he goes from being pretty off the mic to kind of on to really on. And so there's a good bit of really loud spots and then some really quiet spots. And so hopefully that'll kind of smooth some things out. One of our next issues is I'm getting in our room mics here.
Can we edit that one?
I think we should.
I'm going to pan these center.
Here's the next song. Nothing compares to this love burning in my heart.
So here's something weird. Our room mics, I was worried we had the issue of the room mics were slightly behind his mic, and so we're getting this weird kind of, when I just hear him by himself, it's okay, but when I turn the room mics in, kind of sounds weird. Usually that would mean that the room mic's behind the direct mic, but our room mics are actually ahead of the direct mic. I'm assuming that has something to do with the video team and kind of how they edited. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide this back and see what we're looking at here.
Here's the next song. Nothing compares to this love burning in my heart.
I want to go somewhere where like Weston is loud
Home.
and see what that sounds like.
Yeah.
Let's go.
right, yeah.
Home by Beth.
Okay, that's good. I was worried that maybe it was just Marcellus's mic that was not in time, so that was odd. Usually you have to deal with like room mics or something that's kind of getting the ambiance being behind the direct mics just because of timing, but it seems to be the other way around. So we'll kind of pay attention to that and make sure that there wasn't any weird stuff in editing that would have put these too far off.
Oh, here.
Come on, Kirsty.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll take that. And this room mics aren't going to be crazy loud. It's mostly just so you can get some of the studio audience reactions.
Okay. Man, sultry voice.
Okay,
It's not going to be
We're not
crazy
sultry
loud.
voice.
let's go ahead and say right words.
So now I kind of want to do I do a lot of compression, obviously, but I like to do a lot of compressing a little, if that makes sense. So a lot of compressors doing just a little bit. One thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to put a de-esser on everyone, and it's just usually safe.
You always forever.
Let's go.
There's not a whole lot of
Out
S's.
4. Go. That's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's
There's some
trying to
S's
fool
in
us.
this.
I feel like,
We'll go
I
with
feel
that.
like I feel like that's like too obviously.
I'm gonna
a
use the
love
Waves
song. I feel like
de-esser.
he's trying
I'm a
to
fan
fool
of it.
us. I feel like
So this is a little bit better than the Yamaha de-essers on the consoles, but obviously I can't use that. This has a couple cool features. One is that you can listen to what it's listening for. So one thing I like to do to kind of cheat is when he's saying his S's, I will turn this off. There we go. When he's saying his S's, I'll watch an analyzer.
that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to.
So
fool
all of his
us.
S's
I feel
seem
like-
to
I
be
feel like
about between 4 and 5 probably. So what I'm going to do is set this just below 5.
that's
monitor
like
it.
Too obvious. I feel like
That's pretty S-y, but it's not too bad.
that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like that he's trying to fool us. I feel like that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like
Okay, so hopefully that helps smooth things out. I'll listen to it once without
that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like
and with,
that's like too obviously a love song. I feel like
without,
that's like too obvious.
with.
That's like too obvious.
So it just kind of smooths those S's out a little bit.
I feel like I've got to be worship.
And then we'll do the same thing with Christy. So I'm just going to copy this here. For Christy, I can already guarantee it's going to be a bit higher up. We'll watch for it. We'll see what happens. I'm going to turn this off. We'll go to Christy's EQ. And we'll solo out her mic. We'll go somewhere, find some S's.
I hope that's a love song.
I feel like that's.
I hope that's a love song.
That's not bad. As in, that's not a bad spot to test this out.
I hope that's a love song. I hope
With
that's
Christy,
I hope that's a love
and it's typical with
song. I
female
hope that's
vocals to have the
I
S's
hope
be
that's
higher
a
up.
love song. I hope.
But you can see a lot of her S's are kind of up in this 6K to 8K range. So for her, I'm actually probably going to, rather than using a bell curve here, oh my gosh, what am I trying to say? Band pass, yeah. I'm gonna use a high pass, so it's gonna be everything above this point, and I'm gonna set it about 5,500 or so.
I hope that's a love song.
And we'll monitor it really quick. So you can hear that's where a lot of that is coming from.
That's a love song. I hope that's a love song. I hope that's a
So
love.
that'll help smooth some of that out. And one thing you'll notice that I like to do is I like to put my EQ before my de-esser. And so I'll boost some of this high end and then I'll de-ess it after. And what that's going to do is that's going to boost some of that airiness and kind of make it sound a bit brighter. But when it gets out of control, when it's too much, this de-esser will catch it. And so it'll keep it nice and airy, but this de-esser will smooth it out for us. And then for Mars, we're going to do the same thing. I can probably just copy Weston's and be pretty close.
I want no other lover.
Let me find an S. Ooh.
Baby, what is love? Sometimes the night was beautiful.
And I usually don't have as big of an issue with Mars and S's, especially when he's singing.
Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away. Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away.
Yeah, and his are a bit higher up, so we'll go up to about this.
Sometimes the
It's up in that 6K range, so we'll just do a little bit.
Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away.
Help smooth those out. We'll listen to everyone.
It's too deep for me.
It's deep.
I'm gonna start crying.
You're gonna start crying.
Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
Okay.
I'm going to add another compressor before our limiter here. So we have our limiter that's on our dialogue bus. I'm going to add another compressor. I'm going to make this pretty slow, so make the attack like 20. I'm going to actually just keep these settings. I like them. And I'm going to go like 3-to-1.
Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away.
And we'll go 2.5.
It's too deep for me.
It's deep.
I'm gonna start crying.
You're gonna start crying.
Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
So what this is going to kind of do is it's going to not really compress a whole lot when someone's just talking, but especially when the whole group kind of jumps in, like maybe right here.
3 out of 9 or something. Yeah. 3 out of
Because it's compressing everyone. It'll kind of keep everything from getting too loud.
3 out of 9 or something. Yeah. 3 out of 8.
These are hard. From the prompt, and they have to guess if it is a worship song or a love
So like
song.
right now it's
So
not
y'all
doing a whole
ready?
lot, but when everyone
Let's
kind of
do it.
laughs
Okay,
or it gets really loud
I'm not trying. I'm bad
and
at
rambunctious, it'll
I mean,
start
I
compressing
think
a
it's a
little
love
bit.
song,
Yeah.
but the way you're acting, I think it's a worship
Sorry.
song.
It is a worship song.
Who wrote
What
that?
song is that?
Heartbeat Mosaic.
And I'm getting about 3 dB, so I'm just going to be go ahead and get it up about 3 dB.
Tell me all your secrets. Wait, tell me how.
That is the first line of the song.
Like who's saying that though? Like God or?
No, that's us asking God to tell us.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
He's down for it.
Yeah, I'm here for
Okay.
Can we edit that one? I'm sorry. Ooh.
I'll go ahead and gain it up a little bit.
Here's the next
Get a
song.
little closer to that target.
Nothing compares to this love burning in my heart.
that. It could be either one.
Yeah.
It's just a random guess.
All right, that's pretty good. And then let's kind of listen in context, see where we're at.
I'm not trying. I'm bad at hints.
I mean, I think it's a love song,
Yeah.
but the way you're acting, I think it's a worship
Sorry.
song.
It is a worship song.
Who wrote
What
that?
song is that?
Heartbeat Mosaic. We're moving on.
Okay.
That came off worse.
Tell me all your secrets. Wait, tell me.
That is the first line of the song.
Like who's saying that though? Like God?
All right, that's pretty good. That's not bad. I'm kind of happy with it. Next couple things, room mic, really what we want. I'm gonna pull up that Pro EQ again. Oh wow, there we go. We're gonna put a low cut. We're probably gonna low cut quite a bit here. I'll turn it up so we can hear.
But the way you're acting,
What we don't want is this. Here's some air conditioner stuff and whatnot. Also, because we do have some overlap, because you can hear our direct mic, like our people who are talking in these close mics, you can also hear them in the room. There's going to be a bit of phase cancellation, some comb filtering. Where that's going to be most noticeable is down in lower frequencies. So if we cut some of those out of this, they're not going to start having phase issues with these. So I'm going to pull quite a bit out of here.
I'm not trying. I'm bad at hints.
I mean, I think it's a love song, but the way you're acting, I think it's a love song.
It is a worship song.
And just kind of thinking ahead, one thing I'm going to do with our music is I'm going to pull a lot of the top end out of the music, so it gets out of the way of the dialogue. And so if we have a lot of like low end kind of left over after we pull some of the top end out, it's not going to be that big of a deal that we cut a lot of this low end out. Just kind of thinking big picture.
I'm not trying. I'm bad at hints.
I mean, I think it's a love song, but the way you're acting.
Also, there's some weird stuff with the room.
Worship song. What's Heartbeat Mosaic?
Kind of has a boxy resonance to that. It's probably just the room that we're in.
That is the first line of the song.
Like who's saying that though?
No, that's us asking us.
That's kind of cool.
He's down for it.
I'm going to boost some of this mid-range just to get a little bit more clarity. This is going to kind of boost some of the dialogue range.
Nothing compares to this love burning in my heart.
That could be either one.
Yeah.
It's just a random guess.
I'm trying to think if I know it. Like
That's really extra if someone wrote that as a worship song, right?
Really extra.
It's got to be a love song.
Go somewhere where it's loud.
No fives.
Oh, here.
Come on, Christy.
That'll work.
Oh, next.
Okay.
You're the light
I think
in
I'm
my
happy
deep.
with that. Wondering if there's... I'm trying to find some spots where you don't just hear Mars, you hear everyone.
That's a kid.
No, keep going.
Yeah, there's some good laughter there.
That's a kid.
No, keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
Secret.
Keep going.
I think that's
All
good.
right.
That kind of gives a nice little studio audience vibe.
Hold on. I'm sorry.
Let's go and see where our sound effects are at.
Yes,
But they're a little
Elvis
loud.
Presley.
Let's go.
Yes, Elvis Presley.
Let's go.
Moving on.
Okay.
That song. It's
Oh
worship.
my gosh.
Yep.
Oh. 2 out of
Home by Bethel Music.
Those are all the same.
50% again.
Forgot what it was.
Sorry.
What is it, Lo?
Too much about it. What are we at?
Dance with me. Dance with me. Yeah.
I knew it was some sort of.
I actually don't like this buzzer. And it's just a sound effect. Like it probably was gotten off of some royalty-free thing, so it's going to sound a bit low quality. And one thing I just don't like about it is how it feels kind of dull. I'm going to add... We'll just do Pro EQ again. Why not? Get a little bit of the low end out. I want to add some top end. Make it a bit more aggressive sounding. I like this like 6K, 7K. So this is with it off. This is with it on. Yeah, okay. So what we can do is that, I like that for the buzzer. I think in context it'll help.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little louder, but... Okay, now let's see how that sounds on the bell though.
Elvis Presley.
Let's go.
Oh, I like it. Okay, cool. I was a little worried it would sound good on the buzzer, but not good on the bell. So what we did though, since we did add quite a bit of volume, it's going to be a bit louder. I think this auto feature will basically turn our gain back down. So
Elvis Presley.
Let's go.
let's see.
It's Elvis Presley.
Let's go.
It actually kind of did the opposite, probably because we pulled out some low end. What I'm going to do though is I'm just going to bring this down
It's Elvis Presley.
Let's go.
to compensate for the fact that we boosted gain in that high band. So this is with it off. I'm going to go to the buzzer because the buzzer is the one that it affected most.
Okay.
All right, and here's with it on.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little bit more bitey sounding.
Okay.
That came off more.
Tell me all your secrets. Wait, tell me how.
That is the
Cool.
first.
And that's probably good for sound effects. Not a whole lot to do there. And then really music. We'll go ahead and hit this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna add Pro EQ again. Ooh, that's loud. Sorry. So here's one thing we're gonna do is we're gonna duck the music underneath the video. So they start right at the top. A lot of times on videos you'll have where there's music by itself. So you'd have the music going. And then it'd be like, hey fam, whatever, and they'll do their dialogue and we'll pull the volume of that down. And then when they end the video, and we'll see you next time, you bring the music back up. So you're just automating the music below the dialogue. And this one, it starts right off the bat, so we're not gonna do that. The music can be down. Oh, I have everything soloed out. So from the beginning, we have this.
Hey family, this is VFC Worship, and we are playing worship song.
So we have the
or
music from
love
the
song.
top, and at the end, I bet there's going to be a little bit of a moment for a lift in the music, so we may have...
Love you guys.
Ooh, that ended kind of abruptly, so probably not. Probably they'll just need to fade out.
Love you guys.
Yeah. So we can actually go ahead and trim up these clips, so I can just select all of these, like that, and then bring it back to where he says, love you guys. And then we can do, and you'll see my room mics. We can just grab it here and do a fade out.
Love you guys. Love you guys.
What happened to my music here? Did I turn it all the way down?
Love you guys.
Yeah, so we'll just have to do a fade there on the music. A lot of times there'd be a moment where like right here they'd say,
Love you
love you guys. And the music would boost, and then you'd have some sort of closing slide or something like that. We don't have that, so we really just have to do a fade out. Easiest way to do it is just to grab these and do that. So unfortunately, we don't really have a lot of automation to do here. Normally what we'd do at that point is we'd go to our automation and we'd have our level that our music's at for the whole video, and then at the end when it needs to come up, we would do an automation curve so that
Love you guys.
the music would fade back in.
That's worship song or love song with VFC Worship. Love you guys.
Where the music would like lift back up. But we're doing a fade out, so we don't need that. We'll actually just get rid of automation here because we don't need it. So we'll just find a good level. But here's the issue. If I have the music too quiet, it's going to feel kind of dead. So if I have the music like here.
This is a big
Y'all
one.
are going to get this
Killing
one.
it.
And there is love that is as strong as death.
It's kind of boring.
Yeah.
But if I push it up too much higher.
This is a big
Y'all
one.
are going to get this
Killing
one.
it.
And there is love that is as...
It's a bit distracting. So what we can do is we're going to grab some... Ooh, not that. We want this to not be a high cut. We want a high shelf. Or, yeah. High shelf. And we're going to go everywhere above like 3K or so. And let's see what happens if we boost this up.
This is a big
Y'all
one.
are going to get this
Killing
one.
it.
And there is love that is as strong as death.
Oh, yeah.
Jealousy demanding. That's great.
Yeah, you should have done like.
So it's more distracting now. Let's try going the opposite way though.
This is a big
Y'all
one.
are going to get this
Killing
one.
it.
And there is love that is as strong as death.
Oh, yeah.
Jealousy demanding.
So what just happened now is we can keep the music louder, but we have this nice cut here that's going to carve out a lot of room for our vocals. And just so you can kind of see that, let's do another EQ here. So this is the dialogue bus, and then this is the music bus, or the music bus. And so you'll be able to see these analyzers. We'll do FFT here.
This is a big
Y'all
one.
are going to get this
So you
one.
can see there's a lot of stuff
And
up
there
in
is
this
love
range.
that is as strong as death.
Oh.
And if I kind of solo out this range here,
This is a big
Y'all
one.
are going to get this one. And there is love that is as...
you can kind of tell this is the most important range. If I go the opposite way and I go everything below this point,
This is a big one. Y'all are going to get this one. And there is love.
it's really hard to tell even who's talking. So what up here is what's most important. So we can get rid of some of that here in the music. And so now
This is a big
Y'all
one.
are going to get this
Killing
one.
it.
And
We can have
there
the
is
music up
love
pretty
that
high.
is as strong as death.
Oh, yeah.
Jealousy demanding. That's great.
Yeah, you should have done like sloppy like this. Jealousy. That's the worship song, right?
Yeah,
Relent.
for sure.
Yeah.
What is it? Relent?
Let's see where we're at level-wise.
You won't relent.
yeah.
level meter.
You
So yeah,
Hey,
fam.
50%.
Let's go.
There we go. So that's it. That's worship song or love song with VFC worship.
Honestly, what we can probably do is we can just gain this limiter down. And we're actually hitting it a
Do
bit.
Okay, here's the first song. Take my hand, take my whole life too.
That's
Oh, that's a love song.
Yeah, it's a love song.
Take
Okay.
my hand, take my whole life too.
Yes, Elvis Presley.
Let's go.
Elvis.
Tell me all your secrets. Tell me everything.
That's
That
love
can be
song.
a worship song.
It can't
That's
I'm going to
gotta
go
be
ahead
a
and
love
turn
song.
Mars's
I feel like I've
ratio up a bit
recognized
on
that.
his
Final answer?
compressor.
Right?
I don't know.
Try to
his-
even that out a bit more.
I'm not trying. I'm bad at hints.
I mean, I think it's a
I'm going to compress more on this guy.
Let's do it. Okay, here's the first song. Take my hand, take my whole life too.
That's
Oh, that's a love song.
Yeah, it's a love song.
take my hand, take my whole life too.
Yes, Elvis Presley.
Yeah, on Mars, I'm going to go ahead and do a complete high pass instead of that band pass. So rather than just kind of getting stuff around this 5.5 range or wherever we were at, I'm going to get everything above it. So that's what it's listening for. It was starting to get a bit hissy kind
Do
of
it.
sounding.
Okay, here's the first song. Take my hand, take my whole life too.
That's
Oh, that's a love song.
Yeah, it's a love song.
Take my hand, take my whole life too.
Yes, Elvis Presley.
Let's go.
Cool.
Elvis.
Tell me all
We
your
don't need this
secrets.
anymore.
Tell me everything.
That
Love
can be
song.
a worship
It
song.
can't
That's
be
got to be a
worship.
love
That's
song.
weird.
I feel like I've recognized that.
Final answer?
Love song. Right?
I don't know his.
I'm not trying. I'm bad at hints.
I mean,
I want to get a little bit more of the room turned up. Come on.
Worship song.
who wrote
What
that?
song is that?
Heartbeat Mosaic. We're moving on.
Okay. Oh, here.
Come on, Kirsty.
That'll work.
Oh, next. You're the light in my deepest, darkest hour.
Bring music down a little
Totally
bit.
Jesus.
Bring sound effects actually up just a touch. Make it
Christian
pop a
worship.
bit.
Vibe Apple Music.
2 out of 4.
Chill song. It's
Oh
worship.
my gosh.
Yep.
It's impossible.
Okay. Next one.
Weston sounds a bit muddy. This is where I'm going to get away from being tutorialish, and I'm going to actually just do something that I would do normally.
Read it. Read it in like a really like dramatic.
Sometimes when he's off the mic, it's not too boomy, but when he's on the mic, quite a bit.
Let's go.
It's pretty boomy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add this guy. This is actually a dynamic EQ, so it only EQs when it needs to. So I'm going to solo out this. All this proximity effect kind of stuff when he's right up on the mic. And so I'm going to set a threshold on it.
That's
And so right now it's not EQing, but this is where it will EQ up to.
that
When he
sounds
starts
worshipy to
talking.
me. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go.
Set the threshold a little lower.
Hey, Corona. No 5s. Come on, Christy.
So now what's going to happen is when he starts getting...
Read it. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
So this is the range that it's EQing out.
Read it. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
And so when he's off the mic or he's not talking that loud, there's not a lot of this proximity effect. We don't really need... We'll probably EQ a little bit of it out just by default. And then we'll have it EQ out some more as needed. Listen in context.
Read it. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
Some night. Okay.
A sultry voice.
Let's go ahead and say right.
Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
Some night. Okay.
A sultry voice.
Let's go ahead and say right words.
Read it. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
Some night. Okay.
A sultry voice.
Let's
Oh,
go
too much,
ahead.
too much, too much, too much, too much.
Read it. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
Some
So basically that's just going to kind of be a little bit smarter about EQing out some stuff. And then finally, probably what I'll do is I'll just throw another limiter here. This will be a stereo limiter. Kind of doing the same thing, just making sure we're not peaking ever.
Read it. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
some night. Okay.
A sultry voice.
Let's go ahead and
Now here I
Say
want to make
right
sure
words.
we're kind of hovering around the mark we're trying to hit.
Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away.
Wait, I feel like I know that song. It's a love song.
Read it. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
Some night. Okay, let's.
By the way, what this is doing, this is an insert. This is a limiter on our master bus. So this is everything is going. Oh, my bad. I actually needed to have this level meter after. So right now it's going through this limiter here first. And this is our level meter is our very last thing in the chain. So we can see kind of where we're at.
Read
audio-wise.
it. Read it in like a really like
Or
dramatic,
level-wise.
deep voice.
Some night. Okay, let's.
That sultry voice.
It's actually a bit loud now. So I'm going to bring this back up. And this may seem weird. So I'm raising this up and it's getting quieter. Basically, this is a threshold. So this is the loudest point here. It's a threshold. So like this is the loudest point it's letting the audio get before it's limiting. And then as I bring that threshold down, that max ceiling is going to get lower. So what this plugin's doing is it's raising the out gain proportionally. So as I bring that threshold down, it's going to bring that out gain up. It sounds a bit confusing, but it makes sense. So hopefully it makes sense at least. Yeah, so.
Read it. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
Some night. Okay, let's.
That sultry voice.
Let's go ahead and say right words. Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away.
Wait, I feel like I know that song. It's a love song.
It is Rich Mullins, Sometimes by Step.
We suck.
What are we at?
I'm going to do the same thing that I did on, almost said Winston Weston. His mic. I'm going to get rid of this one and just go with this guy.
It is Rich
On Mars.
Sometimes by Step.
We suck.
It is Rich Mullins, Sometimes by Step.
He's getting a bit proximity-y.
It is Rich Mullins, Sometimes by Step.
See, when he's off the mic, I don't want it because you don't get all that boominess. But when he's right up on the mic, it starts to get real like that. Sorry about that. That probably sounds awful.
I'll get this one. Y'all are gonna get this one. Here we go. So that's it. That's worship. Love.
Honestly, it's probably a little higher up than what I'm at. I'm going to go back to a band here.
Love. Love. Baby, don't hurt me. Yup. Sing soprano, praise him.
Yeah, it's probably a little
All right,
more
here
in
we
this
go.
range.
Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away. Love. Baby, don't hurt me. Yup. Sing soprano, praise him. All right, here we go. Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away. Love. Baby, don't hurt me. Yup.
Way too
Sing
high.
soprano, praise him. All right, here we go. Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away. Love. Baby, don't hurt me. Yup.
Sorry, that was really high. Sorry, way too
Sing
high.
soprano, praise him. All right, here we go. Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away.
Cool. Just try to get rid of some of that boxiness and boominess and stuff.
Love. Baby, don't hurt me. Yup.
Sorry, that was really high. Sorry, way too
Sing
high.
I'm probably just a little bit below kind of our target.
All right,
So
here
I'm
we
just
go.
going to bring this threshold down one more.
Sometimes the night was beautiful. Sometimes the night was so far away.
That should bring us right back up. And we're pretty close to that
It's too
18
deep for me.
mark.
I'm gonna start crying.
See, there's momentaries we're hopping over a little
Read
bit.
it. Read it in like a really like dramatic, deep voice.
Weston's a little louder.
Some night. Okay, let's
That sultry voice.
let's go ahead and say right words.
That's something we could do is I could pan.
Sometimes the night
Actually,
was-
no, I can't because we have these all going to a mono bus. Technically, I could make this a stereo bus and pan these out like a little bit. Here, I'll go where you can see me. So I pan Weston a little bit to, the left. Pan Christie maybe a little bit more centered and Mars a little bit to the other side. That way it kind of lines up with where they're at, but I don't want to do that. Honestly, we'll just keep it how it is. All monoed out since they're kind of all important, and since this is mostly going to be seen on like mobile and that sort of thing, not a big deal. And honestly, I think we're at a pretty good point. One thing we could do at the end is, even though we're not automating the, well, I want to make sure their edits here are good too.
50%, pretty good.
My heart has
Yeah, it's
now
not
been
bad.
set on love.
I probably would have done it a little bit different.
What are we at?
3.
They kind of masked it with some stuff. It's pretty good.
See worship. Love you guys.
One thing we could do is potentially take this EQ that we have on our music, this guy right here, and I can take this band and I can automate it. What am I doing here? There we go. Take this band right here, can automate it. So now you can see I have this automation curve so that if I can automate the level of this if I want. Oh wait, no, this is the whether it's active or not. That's not what I want. Whoops, I need to remove that. What I want is the gain. So I'm gonna automate that. So now you can see as I take this, I can automate in time, in real time kind of, or not real time, but I can automate over the length of some sort of time that I want that gain to go back up. So what I can do is kind of just create a lift as he's closing out.
That's it. That's worship song or love song with VFC worship. Love you guys.
So a little bit here, that's gonna go from, so you'll see, if you watch this EQ.
50%.
Let's go.
There we go. So that's it. That's worship song or love song with VFC worship. Love you guys.
That way the end, all that high end is kind of back as it's fading out. So we'll look at that again. I'll make it a little bit more, come on.
That's worship song or love song with VFC worship. Love you guys.
So you can see all that top end's back.
That's
in now.
worship song or love song with VFC worship. Love you guys.
It's way too much. So there we go. We'll just do that. That way there's a little bit of automation. There's a little bit of kind of a lift at the end. Other than that, I think this is probably, wrong button. Probably pretty good. This is the whole project. What we'll do is we'll make sure our start marker is right at the beginning. Make sure our end marker is here. And I can set snap to events. And then now it should, I'm going to turn off snap to grid so that it'll only snap to events. And so now our mix will end there. And then what I can do is save this. And then I can export. So Command E. I'm going to go to the same folder where they sent me to this. I'm just going to do that for now. I'm going to call this, I forgot what we were calling these. This is the second video in kind of a series of videos we filmed for this. I'm going to call it Worship 2 for now. I'll change it later. This is going to be a WAV file. We definitely want to export this as a WAV file. That way it's a high quality file. Resolution 24-bit. Sample rate 48K. This stuff should all be right. Export range between song start and end. I do not want to bypass our master effects because we have some important stuff there. And then that's pretty much it. So I'm going to export this, and I'm not going to do it while I'm recording because the recording might fail, or it just might take forever. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.